Welcome back to the model bench. I am starting on my 1/350 scale funnels for the Titanic, and I'm just going to go through what my process is for the funnels. These are the funnels you get with the basic kit. So as you can see, they're not too bad. They're a little bit chunky, and as with a lot of this kit, it's kind of chunky and kind of toy looking, you know, so the pipe work on the front and what have you, you know. So they're not too bad. So I've obviously gone for the China 3D upgrade, and this is the way they arrive. I've just given them a primer, but as you can see, they're just beautiful. All the ladders are in place, the pipe work, the little steam whistles, so every little rivet's just really good quality. So this is what I'm going to go for. So I just have them a light primer there just to kind of cover up the grey. And that's the 4 funnels, and that's the order they appear. So obviously with the way I approach the funnels is I spray the kind of yellow white star buff colour kind of past here. So you don't have to worry about any masking, just spray it all yellow all the way up here. Once that dries, then I will then mask off everything below this line. So anything just below this line all the way across, I'll mask off. This will obviously be tricky enough, but we'll do our best. Once that is masked off, I'll then spray the black above that. And then once I take off the mask, and there will be obviously little touch-ups to do, and just then obviously paint the whistles a kind of brassy gold colour. So that is how I approach them. And the colour I use for the funnels is I start with Tamiya XF15 Flat Flesh, which is a kind of nice fleshy colour. And then I add just a few little drops of yellow. Let me see if I got that. It's just a Tamiya yellow. I'll put up an image now. And I just keep adding drops of yellow until it kind of goes a little bit, you know, more kind of that white star buff colour. And then I just add a little bit of the flat white, Tamiya Flat White XF2, just to lighten it up. And I kind of just do it by eye, and this is the colour that I'm happy with. I'll obviously spray it on, and if I feel it's too heavy or too yellow, I'll lighten it and then give it another coat. But that's what I've done in the past, and it's always, to me, it always, you know, I'm always very happy with it. I just don't like to go very yellow on them. I think if you go very yellow, it just looks, again, it just looks a little bit off. It should really be a kind of lighter yellow, almost heading towards that flesh colour. And then for the tops of the funnel, again, never go black. If you paint anything black, it always just kills a model, and again, it makes it look very kind of like it's a toy. So for the top of the funnels, I'm going to go with a NATO black, and a NATO black is it's just not a very heavy black. It looks pretty black, but it's just not very dead. You know, it doesn't kill the model. You know, so that's my plan there. So yeah, we'll get on with it. I'll spray these the buff colour, and we'll see how they turn out. So here is my white star buff colour. Really happy with how these turned out. It's just a nice kind of a little bit on the paler yellow. It's not a really strong kind of deep yellow or nearly bordering on orange. Maybe the video now doesn't show it as much, but in real life it's just a nice kind of pale yellow. So very happy with how they turned out. And you can really see the lovely detail on the funnels. So now obviously what I'm going to do is mask off everything below. Everything below this line is going to get masked off as best as possible. So then I can airbrush the NATO black on top. So here is my masking done. I started off with some very thin Tamiya tape and just ran it all around here really carefully. Just little bits and pieces, just masking off everything I had to. Extended the tape down a little bit more, and then I put more tape, and then just finally finished it off with paper, so that only here will obviously get sprayed with the NATO black. And I would recommend, you know, if you think you haven't done enough masking, then just, you know, every time you think you've done enough, you probably haven't. Because once you start spraying, it will just get in everywhere. So I'm hoping, as I say, with just the tape. So I use the tape to really get in the detailed parts. And then I just go to a kind of bigger tape, and then finally just wrap the whole thing in paper. So, you know, once I spray these, you know, it should be okay. Let that completely dry, and then just pick all this off. There more than likely will be a few touch-ups and stuff to do, you know, but the more you can mask, the better, and it'll just save you a lot in the long run. You'll get a much neater line. So we will get on, and I will spray these. I'm going to spray these. I think I'm going to go with the NATO black. As I say, you never want to use black in a model kit, you know, get as kind of dark as possible without getting black. I just find the NATO black a really nice colour. It just gives that lovely kind of almost dialed down black, you know. So I'll spray that now, and we'll see how that looks. So here are my finished funnels. I have to say I'm absolutely delighted with how they turned out. As you can see, the masking worked out pretty good. I had to do very minimal touch-ups, but you can see there that the NATO black is just lovely. It still preserves all the detail, so you can actually see all the rivets and the detail in there, while a true black colour would just kill off them. And you can see then I just picked out the little steam whistles, just in a little bit of gold leaf, Tamiya gold leaf. Yeah, just very pleased with these. I have to say, they're just fantastic. The 3D printed funnels. As I said before, you know, I just think if you get the funnels right on the Titanic, you're halfway there, you know, to having a really good looking model. So yeah, the detail on these is just, I still can't get over the detail. I don't know whether the camera can do this justice, but you can see just the tiny little whistles. And it's great that all this kind of stuff is already in place, so you know you don't have to mess around with photo etch, especially at this scale. So yeah, I removed the masking tape and I was absolutely delighted. Fairly little touch-ups. So yeah, that's my funnels all done, which is great. They survived. Again, you have to be really careful with just all these little pieces sticking out, you know, that you don't, you know, knock them. But just with the 3D parts, you know, they tend to be very, obviously fragile, and it's very easy just to knock them. So you just want to be very careful. I did have one little upset. I knocked just a tiny little bit off here, but I was able to just put in a little piece of metal bar and stick it in, so you'd never know. So yeah, that's my funnels. They will now just be put away. I'm still working on the hull. I'm just waiting on some more parts to arrive from China 3D. Then I'm going to have to just amend the hull, so that's kind of on hold. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go as far ahead and do as many kind of separate parts, like the funnels, the lifeboats, you know, some of the deck houses, that kind of stuff, and get them all ready. And then I will start to put together, you know, the kit, but I'll get all the individual parts ready. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have, please like and subscribe. And until next time, I will talk to you then.